So this is what Deku was in the Zombie Apocalypse Part 2. Now, I'm sorry if you hear some noise in the background, because, um, I'm not going to be uploading for a couple of days, for about a week. Maybe I'll be uploading a couple videos then and there, but not on a consistent basis. My, one or two videos that week, because I am going to be on a plane flight to Las Vegas the plane flight is about 2 hours. I'm going to be going to Las Vegas for Thanksgiving, so don't, be going all, crazy, because I'm not going to be uploading that much. But yeah, let's get into it. Look, this is what if Deku was in the Zombie Apocalypse Part 2. Now, last left off for Deku had an intimate motion with, what was it? Momo, yeah. And he walked back into his room. Later that day, well, it's the next day, it's morning, Deku hears gunshots straight off the bat. Momo hears this too and walks out of her room, and Deku runs out of his room and sees, they're on the balcony right now. They see Asashi just, shooting bullets, like rounds and rounds of bullets, at a super zombie, aka Endeavor zombie. So they pretty much shot to the bone to see this huge mammoth of the zombie Endeavor. Now Endeavor, since you're a zombie, your quirk doesn't have any limits. So Endeavor is like beaming with like supernova levels of flames, like burning the floor beneath him type of flames. Deku sees this happening, grabs Momo, and pretty much somersaults and, backflips off of the balcony, Spider-Man style, lands on his feet, Spider-Man perch style, and pretty much sprints past the Endeavor zombie. Deku does burn his arm clean off, and is only holding Momo with one arm, cradle style, like on the side, and pretty much gets out of the building. He sees that the building is like covered in flames at this point. Like seconds after he left the house, Deku sees the house just crumble down. Seconds after he notices that the house is completely on flames, and he hears a huge burst of flame, like explosion, and he sees a ball of flame go up in the air, the size of a human, and fly away. Deku pretty much knows that's Endeavor already, and pretty much gently lowers down Ochaku. Ochaku gets up and tells Deku, "What the hell is that? And why did you not save my mom and dad?" Deku said, "I couldn't save them. And plus, my arm's completely gone. So, what about that?" Ochaku, Momo. Sorry guys, I just got done recording with Deku Was Married Part 1. I will be uploading that later on. Probably not this week, but yeah, pretty much, Deku, basically, a couple of days when they're walking around trying to find trying to find some vehicles that they can, ride along and get to place. They're trying to find a base or a area they can, you pretty much, what was it? Oh yeah, be at. So they're walking around, and Deku is pretty much, it's been about a week for them looking around for a house and a vehicle, and all the vehicles are on fire, crushed, or just not working. Or they're just, destroyed. All the buildings are infested with zombies, or, just abandoned, or boarded up to the grim and not letting anybody in. So Deku is walking down the road, because Deku is using his telepathic, zombie powers to pretty much, just, stop the zombies from getting towards Momo. So Deku is just walking down the street one day, and Momo and Deku already, situated their outfit, and Momo already thinks Deku has, a lover already, so you don't have to go through that problem. So Deku they already settled out their differences about letting Momo's parents die. Pretty much, it's just, that. Just leave it there. So they worked out their problems. At this point, Momo's piggyback riding on Deku. Deku's walking and walking, and eventually they come across a fully functional car. They, they're really happy at this point. They just hop in the car immediately, not even looking if anything was in there. But Deku notices that he hears hard breathing behind his neck. Momo is like in the other seat next to Deku, like the passenger seat. She looks at behind Deku, says, "Is it Deku?" Deku looks behind himself, and he sees he sees a super zombie. He sees Carmel Woods in the back of the car, but his legs and arms are completely gone. Deku looks at this and pretty much just yanks him and chucks him out of the car with no problem. Pretty much, they ride off, and they're riding, trying to find a house or something because they don't want to sleep in the car. So they're driving and and eventually they get to actually a cabin deep in the woods because it was like a passageway through the woods, and they saw a light in the woods. They ditched the car for like a quick second, and they saw that it was a cabin, like a old cabin that was not. It wasn't filled with zombies, and it was fully functional as well, and it wasn't burned or destroyed because it was like deep in the forest, like nothing could get there. And so they after that, Deku used his super strength or his adrenaline to like drag the car like into the concrete so no one would steal it, and pretty much took the keys from the car and went into the cabin. So after that, Deku they opened the cabin and Deku just busted down the door. And Momo made a new door, and then she screwed it back in, and they got inside the house, and it was pretty nice. Let me show you. They find the cabin, and it's huge. It's like a mansion cabin. They get into it, and it's a million rooms, and also a pool indoors. So they look through all the rooms. Let me show you a little montage of the rooms. This is like the living room. This is the other living room. This is the lounge room. This is the first floor next to the first living room. It's the built-in pool area. And this is the bedroom. So they have they have a couple other bedrooms, but this is the main bedroom. So they're like extremely happy that they found. They're like extremely lucky. Like they have to be the luckiest people in the universe to find a mansion, a cabin mansion that isn't overrun with zombies or, destroyed. So they board it up and they do like a electrical fence type of thing. If you haven't seen Z Nation, go and watch it. It's a pretty cool zombie movie. So pretty much they take a gate and they put it around the cabin and take a car battery that they found from a car that was just the tires were just completely obliterated off. So they just used the car battery, hooked it up to the fence, making an electrical fence. So they went back to the cabin and they stayed there for a couple of days. You know what young people do in a big mansion all alone for about 3 days. You already know what they did. It's up to you to imagine what they did. So Deku wakes up from, last night, and Ochak and Momo doesn't get up because her stomach hurting. So Deku walks to his room. He walks to the first living room that is connected to the first door, the front door. And Deku's in the room watching TV because they have like DVDs in there. Because there's no internet, because like it's zombie apocalypse. So they just watch some DVDs, and Deku hears a knock on his door. Deku's confused, but also very, on guard. Momo's already, asleep. So Deku gets up and takes Momo's, what was it? Momo did make what was it? She made like some sort of short-bladed katana. Deku picked up her weapon. It was about to just, shank whoever was in front of the door. Because, like, they gave off a certain, sense that they weren't a zombie. But Deku had to be smart because, well, some zombies can't be hypnotized by Deku's, smartness. So, like, zombies with smart quirks are zombies that have superhuman abilities, like super strong quirks like All Might and Hulk's and Endeavor level quirks, that he can't control them. So Deku opens the door, and he sees two people. He sees a pink-haired girl and a red-haired guy. Deku looks at them and with his knife in his hand, and Kirishima's hardened up, and Miyata about to, throw some acid at Deku, because they think he's a zombie. And Deku throws down the knife and says, "Oh, well, you're human, right?" They say, "Yeah, are you?" Deku says, "Yeah," and pretty much Deku lets them in. And Deku wakes up on shock. Momo gets dressed, and pretty much she walks down. They get on the couch. They get on separate couches and say, "So, how did you find the cabin? And how did you get in?" Kirishima said, "Oh, I just hurried up and threw Miyata over the fence, and then I jumped over the fence on my unbreakable form." Now, in this universe, this happened about during the last month of, the training arc. The zombie apocalypse happened the last month of the training arc. So, originally, Deku was about to, stab him. That's why, Kirishima was a little bit hesitant to tell what they were doing here. They said that they were trying to find a place to, wait it out and, live for the time being for this zombie apocalypse. Deku says, yeah, and says, well, we've been staying here for about 3 days without food. It's some water, but no food. Kirishima says, well, me and Miyata have been checking out places, and we did get a rumor that flies around that it's the super mall, or a mall area that has some sort of, what was it? Some sort of food supplies still there. Deku gets happy, has a shimmer in his eyes, and says, "What you mean, food supplies?" He says, "A whole entire truck of rice and sushi and stuff like that. In about a month, it's gonna go expired. A lot of people are trying to get in there, but it's overrun with a crap ton of zombies." Deku says, "I can get through," and they say, "What do you mean?" Oshaku makes up a lie. They did make up a lie in case somebody came over and asked how you can, be immune to zombies. Deku says, "I have a quirk called adapt, that I can adapt to any virus, and also I did get bit." They get off the couch, and they're about to, attack Deku. But Deku says, "No, since I have quirk adaptation, the virus hasn't messed up with my brain, or, turned me into a zombie." They wanted proof, and Kirishima cut his wrist and put it in front of Deku's face. Deku looked at Kirishima like he was crazy and said, "Put your arm back. Put your arm, keep your arm to yourself, okay, redhead?" Kirishima's confused, but also not that shocked, because Deku seemed really civilized. So Deku got up, and they pretty much get ready. So they sprint out of that house. Deku, this pretty simply, didn't wasn't able to show you, but I did find the picture. I was imagining the car to be. So they got in their car, and they rode on to the store. They got to the store, and it was a bunch of zombies overrun. It was a couple of super zombies in there too. Deku just hopped out of the car with no fear in his eyes. Kirishima looked at him and said, "Are you sure you're immune to zombies? And they don't see you as a human?" Deku says, "Yeah, they don't." And he pretty much closes the door after him, and they drive off a couple of feet so they don't get, they don't get any attention drawn to them by the zombies. So Deku jumps the fence that's around the, store, and pretty much looks around and walking past all these zombies. Deku's walking, but he does keep away from the super zombies, like the pro hero zombies that have strong quirks, and is walking. Eventually, he gets inside the building, opens it, and he sees the most terrifying thing he could ever see. He sees, wait for it. He sees Trigon Zombie. If you don't know what that is, the Dragon Pro Hero is a zombie. She's just laying there, pretty much just walking around just a little bit, pushing carts and aisles into the wall. It's still in dragon form. Deku sees that she has a really strong quirk. She probably won't be able to, be manipulated by Deku. So Deku, pretty much, sprints past her, and eventually gets to the back of the store where the supply truck is. Deku gets to the supply truck, and he hears a gunshot right towards him. Deku dodges it, and he looks and he sees that it's pretty much a short-haired purple girl and a um pretty much blonde-haired guy with a black streak in his hair, saying, "Stop right there, zombie." The purple-haired girl says, "Shut the hell up," and about to shoot again, but Deku says, "Wait, wait, I'm not a zombie." And pretty much, Deku, Deku says, "Not a zombie. I'm here for the supply truck." They said, "Well, we're taking the supply truck." Deku jumps over the pretty much Deku. It was like um the back of an area that like that slope thing. Up, I don't know how to explain it. But yeah, Deku jumps over it, jumps on their level where they are. It says, "Well, you can come with us. We're boarded up into a mansion right now." They say, "Hold up, hold up, hold up, a mansion?" The blonde-haired guy says, and I'm just gonna say it's Denki and Jiro. Jiro says, "Shut the hell up," and Jiro is hesitant, but she does agree, and they get into the supply truck and drive off. They're driving off, and they hear a huge down through the front. Sorry guys, if it's like a gap, it's because my my phone blacked out. So yeah, so pretty much they look down and they see. Hear me right here. Hear me. They see freaking a huge block of freaking what was it? A concrete stopping them. They look back and they see Cement Head. But you probably wondering, oh, you're gonna turn my boy Cement Head into a zombie? No. Cement Head's just a survivor that wants the supply truck. Deku looks at him and says, "God damn it!" And pretty much, his eyes turn bright white, and a couple zombies swarm Cement Head. Cement Head starts holding them back, and Deku just drives off, using his super strength to get out the car for a quick second, to get out the truck for a quick second, breaking the concrete, getting back into the car, driving off. Kirish, pretty much, Jiro saying, "What the hell was that? How did they just swarm up to him?" Deku's about to tell him about his quirk, but he's hesitant about it. So they drive off, and they get to the truck, and Momo's already in the driver's seat, ready to go. So they drive off, and they get to the cabin, they get out, and they move the food into the house. They get it all into the house, and Deku and pretty much his friends are incredibly happy. So over the past couple of days, they lay there, do some poker games, pretty much have a fun time, forgetting about, the huge pandemic outside. And Deku already has like a radio set up in the living room. So they get a radio transmission. Momo and Deku are the first ones to, find it out because Momo and Deku, kiss making out in the kitchen. They hear they hear the radio, they run over there and they open it up. They pretty much press it, and it pretty much, says that it's a couple of survivors near the in the middle of Tokyo on the tallest building, and pretty much they're just kids. Deku is confused, but just shrugs it off and grabs Momo's hands and says, "Do you want to check it out?" She says, "Well, not really, because it's in the middle of Japan. You know how Japan was the first place to get the most zombie reports?" Deku said, "Yeah, you're right." And pretty much they just leave it at that. Kirishima hears this and says, we can't just leave them there. They said they were kids." Deku says, "Well, it's Japan, bro. It's infested with super zombies and people with quirks down there. It's crazy. But you guys couldn't even come there. And plus, some strong quirk users that are zombies I can't control and I can't maneuver away from." Kirishima says, "You didn't know. You never told us about that." Pretty much, Deku explains more in detail about what his quirk does. And pretty much, they stop. And you probably wondering why is Deku not adapted to anything else. Deku, since he was already turned into a zombie, his quirk doesn't function that well anymore, meaning that Deku is only immune and only adapts to zombie situations, and it only adapts in physical terms So, yeah. Deku does still adapt in strength and, regenerates. Because Deku, you're probably wondering, what about his arm? He already regenerated that back. So, Deku thinks about it and says, well, screw it. And he goes out. And Deku's walking. Deku takes the truck, drives off. Not the car. Drives off. He's driving. He's driving and driving and driving. Then he gets to, Japan. Deku gets to Japan and sees all this destruction, buildings crushed, and bunch of ivy all around the place. Deku sees that it's sorry guys, Deku sees that it's happening. Pretty much he just maneuvers around it. He gets to the middle of the city. This huge building right here is at the very top is where the kids are. Deku goes over there and pretty much climbs the building because the inside of the building is infested with zombies. Deku climbs on the side of the building, digging his fingers into the concrete of the building and climbing under on top of it. Deku gets to the top of the building and he sees two kids. He sees a black-haired kid with a spiky hat, and he sees a white-haired girl with a horn. Deku looks at both of them and says, are you guys okay?" They say, "Yeah," and Deku grabs both of them and pits them both on their back. Well, he pits Eri. Sorry, guys, you already know who they are. It's Eri and I forgot the other kid's name. The kid that punched Deku in the balls and cannon at the forest training arc. So Deku grabs the kid. He puts Eri on his back, pickaback style, and he pretty much just grabs the other kid to the side of his hip, and Deku just fucks it and jumps off of the building. Not even climbing down slowly. He just jumps off of the building. Deku is falling down, and they're looking at Deku like he's crazy, saying, "Do you have some type of flight quirk?" Deku says, "Nope." They look at him like he's crazy, say, "You can't fly? Why did you jump off the building then?" Deku's falling down, and he grabs one of the poles that are sticking out of the building and stops it. Eri almost lets go, but Deku grabs her and puts her back on his back. Deku slowly, slides down, putting his fingers down into that building, slowly landing onto the ground, the bottom of the building. Deku walks back to the truck, gets in, and he drives back home. On the way there, Deku's driving, and then he sees a man with some sort of bird mask in front of the road. He sees a man dressed up in this, outfit with white gloves on him and looks at the man. He hears, quivering and, whimpering, and he sees the white-haired girl crying. Deku looks at them, puts two together, and says, "Is this the guy that you're afraid of?" She says, "He tortured me, and then I escaped from him, but I had to go through all those zombies, and I got to the building, and I got stuck, and that's when you saved me. He's been torturing me." Deku notices the bandages on her arm, and pretty much just, hits it a maximum overdrive running over the guy. So the front of the car is like, a little bit messed up, but before he can drive off, the car completely disassembles, and Deku falls out of the car. Everybody gets split up. Deku grabs both of the kids, puts them back together, and pretty much looks back, and he sees Overhaul standing up with a little bit of blood around himself, and about to, sprint towards Deku, trying to kill him. Deku dodges and weaves. Eventually, he grabs Overhaul's wrist and pretty much drop kicks him straight into the stomach while he's holding onto his wrist, throwing him into a wall, knocking him out for a short minute so he can grab up with the kids and sprint off. Deku's incredibly fast, so he gets there. He gets to the cabin, like about a yard away from the cabin, until he gets stopped by another zombie. And Deku sees the zombie as a real threat. And Deku, this is the most terrifying thing Deku has seen. He sees All Might. Zombie All Might. Deku is completely blasphemous. I mean, Deku is like super shocked. Deku just, throws, drops, the kid and Eri down. It says, "Go into the forest. You'll see a huge cabin. That's where you're. That's where you're going to knock on the door, and that's where a couple people and a black-haired girl, my girlfriend, is going to let you in." So they run off into the forest, and Deku looks at the zombie All Might. And zombie All Might just runs, like he just books it straight to Deku. Deku dodges the first attack, but he gets his right side of his body obliterated off. His arm, his leg, and the chunk of his torso is obliterated off. Deku slowly starts to regenerate some bone, some tissue, but not fast enough. All Might just pounding Deku into the ground, biting Deku some actually as well. Deku is yelling out in pain, and eventually he hears a huge, blow, like a huge explosion. Deku looks back and he sees Momo with a freaking RPG on her shoulders, saying, "Get the hell off my boyfriend." Deku sees this happening. Then he sees Jiro shooting at the All Might zombie and see Kirishima going in his hardening, just punching All Might. All Might grabs Kirishima's arm and chucks him straight into the ground, knocking Kirishima out. And Denki uses one of his electricity attacks to pretty much slow down All Might. Not enough, and Denki just goes dumb. All Might's about to, eat Denki, but Deku gets back up on one arm, on one leg that he focuses hardest on regenerating fully, and pretty much does a super kick straight All Might's stomach, pushing All Might just enough so Denki can be saved by Jiro to be dragged back into the house. Deku starts regenerating using all of his strength, trying to regenerate some limbs faster and faster. Deku's regenerating, sorry guys, and just trying his hardest to try to, just get an arm or another leg back in position. Deku gets both of his arms and legs back in, but Deku's torso is still bleeding, guts and everything. Deku gets back up and pretty much grabs one of his rib bones and breaks them on the ground, sharpening them a little bit, and chucks it right at All Might's eye, stabbing All Might's eye. Deku runs over to All Might and pretty much bites him in the neck, but that's all All Might needs. In this universe, All Might is actually aware of his actions. Basically, if anybody that's not a zombie or is, strong enough, they could attain All Might's quirk if they had physical contact with All Might. If, they, made skin to skin contact, like inhaling his DNA or something. So Deku bit him, and blood gushed out of his body into Deku's mouth, meaning that Deku technically did get some of his DNA, meaning that the quirk is instantly transformed to Deku. And in that instance, All Might transforms into Small Might Zombie, and Small Might Zombie tries to eat Deku, but he gets piked in the head by Momo with a machete. After that, they walk off back into the cabin. They have a very, very, very frasminous night with each of the couples that I showed. Mostly Deku and Momo. So yeah, guys. So this is it for part 2. Part 3 is going to be way more, action-packed. See you guys later. Bye.